We go on to the football, or we talk about the two semi-finals? There's a couple of other hurling things we want to touch on, but let's talk a little bit about the football over the weekend. We'll start off with Derry against Kerry, 117 to 115. It was brilliant stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, a cracker of the game. And like, I actually just missed the first couple of minutes of it. I was in transit, I was listening to it on the radio, and you're thinking, both teams have had a goal chance here inside 2 minutes. I'm thinking, what sort of a game is this? Derry get a goal, I think it was 33 seconds later, Kerry get a goal. It was exactly what I was not expecting. And like, fair, as you said earlier, fair play to Kerry. Kerry didn't play the sweeper that you normally see. Derry went fairly gung ho for it and said, you know, we're basically going to outgun you here. And their accuracy was so good, particularly in that first half. They won 11 on the board at half time. And Dermot O'Connor's obviously black card was included in that time before half time and just a bit after as well. It was just a couple of chances spurned when they really, really had Kerry by the throat, and they just weren't able to really keep the foot down here when they were totally in control. Not totally in control, but they had the chances to really bury Kerry, just didn't take them. And I think that'll be the heartbreaking thing from a Derry point of view, that so many things went right. They were, as I said earlier, they were brave, they went for it, and they just didn't have maybe the accuracy to kind of force it through at the end. But a couple of injuries that they picked up in the first half, I think, probably hurt them at the end of the game. Maybe when some lads were flagging on the pitch, like is it McGrogan that kicked the point off Shawnee O'Shea? He probably would have kept O'Shea a lot quieter in the second half than he was. He thundered into the game, and obviously, you know, David Clifford ended up with 4 from play, 1 from a mark. Just some outrageous scores. And you kind of flagged it on Thursday, you know, would he have to drop back the pitch a lot? He had to drop back the pitch a lot deeper than I expected him to. What a shot that is. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's art, isn't it?
It is. It's ridiculous. Like, it's iconic, because there's no player in the history of the game that I can think of that kicks a ball like that. And like, so he's off the ground as he's kicking. His foot is above his 6'4" head. I actually think his momentum means that his right foot can't but be off the ground. But like, it's odd that like, when he kicks a ball, it's got this kind of sound that's a little bit different. I actually remember commenting on it before when Conor McManus was out at the international rules it was Perth or Melbourne, whatever, 2014. He had come out late, but himself and Chrissy McCaig had been playing the Ulster Football Club against each other, and then they'd share 2 plane seats beside each other on the way out. And I was watching McManus kick around in some old warm-up or training session, and it just, the noise it made anytime he hit it, and he always drove it way above the post. And Clifford is even more onto that again. It's nuts.
He doesn't get blocked down as well, generally. It's like he kind of leans back. He always, like, there was a point he got yesterday where McCaig was on top of him. It was on top of him, and you're looking at it as a defender and thinking, he can't really do much more here. But
and also, McCaig didn't buy the couple of little jinx.
Yeah.
He didn't buy the jinx, and I was like, fair play to you there. But still, there's nothing anybody in the history of the game could have done about it.
It's gas, you know. I don't know, I see a lot of people, Philistines I call them, saying that McKay got an absolute roasting yesterday or whatever. It wouldn't have mattered who was on him. And I thought there was a lot of 60-40, 40-60 balls even come in. McKay came out and even panned down a good few balls away from Clifford. It was just in the big moments, I'd say, Clifford delivered. But I thought McKay had a decent game as well. And like, when you're playing the way Derry decided to play, like, Clifford was always going to expose some holes at different stages, no matter who he was on. There wasn't the comfort of, you know, being double marked or being triple marked or having a sweeper in front or anything like that. They didn't play like that, so they were always going to leave it that Clifford maybe could have a big impact, and he had a massive impact really when the need was greatest. And even I was kind of thinking back yesterday, and I just, like, at the end of that game, I think Derry were up in the 67th minute, and you're just thinking, Kerry are now have the ability to close out games that they wouldn't have closed out probably 12 months ago or a little over 12 months ago. That's just what beating Dublin with a clutch free at the end, holding on in an All-Ireland final against Galway. That's kind of what it does to you. You now believe you're the one that's going to deliver when the need is greatest or when you're really under pressure. And Clifford definitely did. And big word for Stephen O'Brien as well. Now, I don't think that was a free, I have to say. I don't think it was the colour of the free, the one where I think he was falling already and might have got the slightest of touches, but they got free out of that. But he had some impact off the bench again. And I wasn't sure he had that left-footed point in his locker either. That point where he came back and it was a really high pressurized shot. He usually cuts in off the right and kind of shoots this kind of low one just over the bar. I haven't really seen him. I'm open to correction, but I haven't really seen him shooting that much off his left. It's usually a hand pass over the bar running through, or that low effort off the right. But that point off his left foot was at a huge time, and it was just a huge score in the context of the game.
Yeah, someone might correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like that put Kerry 1 point ahead, maybe 2. And I actually thought the way he celebrated, I was like, whoa, it's still a bit
yeah, same. Yeah. I was thinking the exact same. Yeah. But what's disappointing, Shano, at the end? It's just like if you compare that to Tip and Offaly in the minor last year when the free went in and it was perfect, and McGuigan, I don't know, he obviously wasn't going for the point, but it felt like the final whistle blew and it was a real anticlimax because everyone was just built up for a ball being thrown into the mixer at the end, and who knows what could happen, but unfortunately it didn't materialize. And that was probably the only black mark against McGuigan, who got some fair treatment throughout the game but was outstanding.
Yeah, what year was it that Mayo played Dublin and they knocked over a late free thinking that they had time for another
13.
kick out?
I think that still rankles with Killian O'Connor because he maintains he was told by the referee that there was another play. He put that free over and they were 1 down and the final whistle blew.
And I don't know if it's quite as high stakes, but yesterday morning for the Coola third team, we were up against Clonagale and we had a last minute free around the 21, and I think the young lad who took it, he was trying to blast it, more or less dip it at the crossbar, but it went over, and you're like, oh, let it into me. But I know.
Well, I have a bit of an issue with that, I think, because there's a fair chance that the ball is going to go over the bar. If you absolutely welt it at the ground, it's not going to go over the bar. It can only go into the goal, if you get me, or really low. Whereas if you leave it in around that area, around the crossbar, that's why the other man in this OurGame show today probably should have been hitting that free at the end. There's no point saying any different.
Colin Lyons blind spot. This is a good one about Clifford. Sean Finn with a hurley wouldn't have got a block in on Clifford yesterday. Greatest of all time. Is it just me, or have Kerry played far more better teams this year en route to the final? Better teams than they played last year, or better teams than Dublin have played? I'm just not entirely sure what you mean there.
Who've they played? Mayo, Cork, Louth, Tyrone, Derry.
Yeah, they've had to play some tough games, and take that Mayo game out of it, they've been pretty good, haven't they, all the way? Like, to be honest, they weren't that good against Cork either in the group.
No, they were poor against Mayo. They got over the line against Cork, a dodgy penalty decision. They've probably turned it on from the Louth game, since the Louth game, really. Put a huge score that day, beat Tyrone by 12. Now they were under pressure at different stages yesterday. There's no point in saying any different, but they were able to find a way. Brino Bjugluck made an impact off the bench. O'Brien made an impact off the bench. Yeah, even Michael Burns made an impact. They got a bounce off the lads that came in, allied with Stephen Clifford as well.
Yeah,
or David Clifford. Jesus Christ.
I think Oran Lynch has been very good the last couple of years. I did think that at times it didn't really work for him yesterday, and he got blocked down there at one stage. But I remember Kieran McFall a few times kind of telling him, make the overlap run. So I don't think he was quite as effective. But it was interesting when you look at the amount of chances that Derry missed, and they left some serious goal chances behind them. That time that Garrett McKinless went through, and obviously he's a brilliant player, and you'd hope that injury wasn't too bad at the end. You can see how that would actually be a bad one. When you go to swing the leg fully, and the ball was knocked out of the way, and he did a bit of an air shot, geez, your leg can be left very exposed to hyperextension or something like that. So hopefully it's not too bad, because his club will obviously need him as well. But when he went through that time and he blasted the shot and it was blocked brilliantly by Shane Ryan, I mean, what a performance by him. But normally McKinless is the one man you want going through to spot someone to hand the ball off to palm it into the net. But like, even if you look at from 42 minutes on, at 110 to 112 for Derry, Brendan Rodgers hit the post. Niall Toner, he had a tame goal chance. Doherty kicked the ball wide. Oran Lynch's point attempt was blocked down. McKinless, that goal chance that I just mentioned, they just left too many chances behind them. And Kieran Mina, who's obviously taken over this year, and we shouldn't ignore the fact that they had to change their manager just before the Ulster final, and it was like front page news story all across the country what was going on. Like, what a job he's done to just steady the ship and keep it going. But Mina said, look, we're probably in a state of shock because we expected to win the game. Not for 1 second did we envisage anything other than planning for an All-Ireland final. We were really confident coming into the game. So the reason we were in a state of shock and such devastation was because we expected to win. And for such a large portion of the game, right up until coming down the straight, it looked like we were going to win. And I suppose that's why. But like, what a performance they gave. And like, is it as simple as saying that experience on the biggest day of seeing out a game, of knowing you can get across the line, like you mentioned with Kerry, since they won that game against Dublin last year, maybe that's part, a lot of it comes down to just that, just knowing how to get over the line.
Maybe so, and I know this kind of might sound a bit mad, but the conversion rate was that high in the early stages that it does eventually drop off, whereas if a couple of them had went wide, maybe they would have kicked over, a couple of the chances that they had, that, the ones you said about hitting the post and a couple of tame kind of shots. The scoring conversion rate just dropped off, and it dropped off at a really key time when they probably had a chance to get 3, maybe 4 up. Like looking back at the game, they'd be woeful disappointed coming away with only 1 goal, having breached the Kerry line a few times. I thought Gavin White at different stages, not only for the goal, but thought defensively he was brilliant at different stages. Probably maybe an unheralded player a small bit, but yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe Kerry just got that bigger bounce from the bench as well, and maybe just had more options. Derry obviously carry a fairly threadbare squad. I think it's the smallest senior football squad in the country by some distance. And they might have just lacked that depth at the very, very end. Considering, I suppose, when you take it, that they took on Kerry, they played a high-energy game. They didn't sit back. There wasn't, a guy wheeling around the D, not resting throughout the game, but standing there and being positioned there. Everybody was going gung-ho. Everybody was going up. Niall McIntyre got a great shot of Chrissy McCaig and David Clifford down under hunkers deep into injury time, and nobody around them. Like, nobody within, an ass's roar them. Everyone was getting up to try and attack, and that was a common team kind of throughout the game. So, listen, it's small enough margins. When you lose, you analyse absolutely everything, but it was small enough margins, and yeah, they played a part in a belter of a game, and they'd obviously feel fairly crestfallen to have come up the wrong side of it.
So we've mentioned Shane Ryan a few times and how good he was in the goal. Brilliant save, got himself a brilliant point. So there's been some conversation around the targeting of Shane McGuigan. Brilliant forward for Derry, scored some lovely points. But, like, should that have been a foul the time that Shane Ryan came careering through in the air, burst into Shane McGuigan? I think if we had the opportunity, and we're playing, if you had an opportunity to bury an opposition player at the same time, you would take it. But I couldn't help but think, because the collision was fairly heavy, of that famous tackle that, was kind of talked about an awful lot from the 1982 World Cup. Do you remember a name called Harold Schumacher?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, do you know that tackle that he did on
that
the
was a little bit different now.
I know. Okay, obviously it was. But do you remember the name of the France player that he buried himself into?
Yeah.
Go on. Well, I'll answer it for you, because it's Patrick Battiston. And, like, I think even to this day, I just looked at an article there from 2022. He still suffers with back pain, lost teeth, and he broke his rib. And the referee didn't even blow the whistle at the time. Now, obviously, the Shane Ryan tackle isn't of that level, but he did find a way to, and he was in possession of the ball, he did find a way to absolutely bury Shane McGuigan, and rightly so, I would say, as a player. But I don't know, like charging your body at someone mid-air, should that not be a free the other way? Because, like, think about charging, right? You charge with the ball. How is this better?
I don't know if it's better, but I kind of feel like he was protecting himself somewhat, to be honest with you.
From what?
From potentially being done to himself. I think he was and I think when you have the ball, I'll put it this way, when you have the ball, it's very rare you're blown for charging, or it's less likely than in a scenario where the other fella has the ball. If you don't him, it's free nearly every day of the week. I didn't see any issue with this now. I didn't see any issue with it in normal time, and I didn't see any issue with it back when I watched it back, even in slow-mo. I think it was fine. But it looks to be one of the most divisive ones. It's literally 50-50. You have people, and we'll have commenters in there saying Colin blind spot never free. The previous commenter had to be a free. Like, it's very, very divisive. I personally didn't think it was a free. The fact that he kicked the ball over the bar makes it an even more of a sickener for Derry people, obviously, as well. The fact that it could have been a free in for Derry around the middle of the pitch, and Shane Ryan puts it over the bar at the other end, but wasn't free for me.
Yeah, my old clubmate Niall Carty says, no chance it's free. Derry player put himself in a vulnerable position. Darragh Lahan says he knew what he was doing, but that can't be called as a free, really. Red Lad says he jumped into him, FFS. Niall Morgan got a black card for it earlier this year. I do think that the referee could give it either way, and it will be difficult to argue the call. But if you're a Derry person, you're going to feel hard done by. Do you think that Shane McGuigan got the treatment in this game?
One of the belts he got, it was a follow through after he kicked a score in the first half. To be honest with you, neither of us were in there watching it, where you can see it, a little bit clearly. I only saw what was on the box. He got. Well, listen, he's one of the marquee forwards in the country. Kerry are going to look at him and think, if we can keep him somewhat quiet, we're going to win the game. Did he get really rash treatment? I don't know. I thought it was bordering unfair. Maybe just the other side of it. But I probably would have had to be in the grounds to make a real proper call on it. But Shane, what does David Clifford get in every game he's playing in? Really, nothing. It's mad, some of the stuff that goes on, and lads will literally do anything. The unfortunate thing from a Derry point of view is that the supporting cast maybe wasn't as strong as David Clifford's supporting cast was. Where was your Batman to your Robin, your Sean O'Shea coming in helping Clifford?
Your Bernie to your Stapleton.
I would have it the other way around personally. But where was the ally to McGuigan really to kick 3 or 4 points? Probably wasn't there. And that's probably why it looks maybe harsher, him getting a bit of treatment or whatever, that there wasn't another player there to pick up the fall, shall we say.
Yeah, so the big question here, and we want comments in from the viewers, which is Batman and which is Robin, and why between Stapleton and Bernie? So get the comments in and let us know.
I think it's a poll. I think that's a poll all day long.
Well, we'll get a poll going afterwards, but get the comments in and let us know who is which and why. Do you think Derry will get back here again? I'd be confident that they will get back here again. I think it's important that Kieran Mina stays on, because he's shown already in the space of a couple of months that he can keep the show on the road. And what they've done from last year compared to this, they've now developed a lot of players that can score, and the idea of them scoring 1-6 or whatever in an All-Ireland semi-final next year seems really remote. So I think it's very important that they find a way to get him to stay on.
His post-match interview was, I thought, very thoughtful and honest as well. He comes across as a really good guy. The only thing is he's taken over. He'll be starting out the start of the year. That's a different prospect than taking over mid-season. When did he take over? About 8 weeks ago? That's a different prospect. You're kind of keeping the show on the road. Whereas, when he starts back, if he does start back as manager, it'll probably be in 4 to 6 weeks' time as regards planning. It's not keeping the show on the road. It's like, you are the show. You're organising absolutely everything. And it'll be interesting to see whether he brings in some new faces to the backroom team, to the squad, where he tries to increase a bit of depth. But it is a different task for him now completely than just keeping the show on the road. So that would be the one caveat I would put with it. But I think they can definitely get back to this stage again. I don't see why not. Look how much they've progressed since that kind of semi-final against Galway last year. They've progressed, they measurably. It does remind you a lot of Donegal from 11 to 12. They obviously didn't get the All-Ireland in the second year like Donegal did, but it's significant improvement. And outside of Christy McCaig, who's performed to a good level this year, probably not as good as 2022, the age profile is, okay. The main drivers of the team would say McIlnes, Glass, Shane McGuigan, they're all, Oran Lynch even in goals, they're all going to be around for, a good time to come. So I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be in around this scene over the next couple of years. Yeah.
What about Clifford's yellow card for this perfect shoulder? I thought it was
very good. Yeah. Very good shoulder. Yeah. Maybe his reputation as, as good as he is, his reputation as a tackler is appalling. It is. It's really his reputation.
The Paul Scholes of GAA.
it's not far off it. Like, I'd look how many yellows has he picked up? But like just real, I don't know if it's lazy tackling. Maybe I'm being unfair here. Maybe he's actually cynically tackling and stopping teams in their tracks. But he picks up some amount of yellows from tackles. That was not a yellow. Not in the month of Sundays was that a yellow yesterday. It looked a perfectly fair shoulder, but perfectly fair shoulders are so rare in the GAA now that most people think anytime there's a shoulder and when you try to catch it in real time, you don't think it's a fair one and you're blown. And it just goes to show you as well in hurling and football, like that's probably one of the reasons why the shoulder tackle is like nearly extinct now. They're blowing more so than not. And Clifford was on a yellow in the first half there yesterday. He easily could have picked up another yellow for something else and ended up off the pitch. And one of them would have been obviously unbelievably harsh. But yeah, that looked like a fair tackle to me.
Yeah, Brendan Redlad says Brendan Rodgers must be nailed on for an All-Star, probably with James McCarthy in midfield. 50-50 Ryan Decision says Jack. Colin Lyons blind spot. Lads, who gets the other midfield All-Star with Darragh O'Donovan? Also a big loss, Shane O'Donnell heading foreign next year. Well, we've done our All-Stars, our early All-Stars, so go check that out. See, the Louth GAA chairman has stepped down. Yeah, Peter Fitzpatrick, who of course was the manager when they got to that Leinster final in 2010. He's resigned. Yeah, and he's also an independent TD for Louth. But there's supposed to be work commencing on their 25 million, 14,000 capacity venue outside Dundalk. But they were ordered not to by the GAA's Management Committee and Central Council pending a reassessment of the project. So obviously that's a huge part of it. So he stepped down. So I'd imagine this story will run and run for a while.
Just on that, Shane, like you wonder, hopefully, I still think this can probably be salvaged potentially, but you'd wonder, does this leave Mickey Hart and Gavin Devlin in a bit of a spot as well? Fitzpatrick obviously brought them in. If he's no longer chairman, will they remain on? So this story will go on for quite some time, I'd imagine.
Yeah, another couple of comments coming in here. There was one here specifically about the Batman and Robin stuff. Where is it? I can't find it. Oh yeah, you're Robin, Shane. Bernie has the height on you.
I do not. Jesus, lads. I tell you, I'm 5'10" and a bit. I'd say you're
in heels.
Yeah, in flats. I'd say you probably have a bit of height on me in that regard.
Colbline's blind spot. Shane would want Hegarty red carded for that tackle. Will you go away or that?
It's kind of funny. I just see there's certain trolls online. Like every time there's a tackle in hurling, and like just say it's Kilkenny and Clare. Oh, Groan Hegarty should have got a red for that. Or do you know what I mean? It's just people absolutely love it.
Let's see. Oh yeah, Joe LK20. Sean Kavanagh telling the Gooch that Clifford is the greatest Kerry player of all time. What do you think? Well, I think it's pretty self-evident. He is, because he delivers constantly in the biggest games against the toughest teams, which historically, yeah, there are other Kerry players that probably are much before our generation. But of the generations we've seen, I don't think any player stands up against the big teams the way he does and in the big moments. No way. Like, it's different, to playing against Mayo teams that used to just completely fade in finals, or Cork teams that come up and get battered by Kerry in finals. This is Clifford doing it against everybody every day.
Yeah, if you look at his county career and the expectation and pressure that he brought with him from his minor days, like probably one of the greatest minor careers of all time, and you're thinking it's probably something similar to Joe Canning's kind of underage career with Galway. You're thinking, can this lad like cope with the pressure when he comes through to senior level? He wins an All-Star in 18. Remember, he got that goal against Monaghan up in Clonus to keep them alive in the Super 8, last kick of the game. Ended up at 1-4, 1-5. Got the All-Star that year. Think he got one in 19 obviously as well. Didn't get one in 20. Got one in 21, I think. Got Footballer of the Year last year. Do you know what I mean? Like that's phenomenal so far. And like what odds is he for Footballer of the Year this year? He's probably nailed on again. He'd be the first. I think he'd be the first in Jack O'Shea to get back-to-back Footballer of the Years, providing they win. He mightn't get it if they lose. Yeah, he's backed up every bit of hype, and you're kind of thinking, yeah, greatest Kerry footballer of all time is one claim, but like he's getting closer and closer to be, and it's mad to say it for a guy who's played 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 6 years of inter-county football, and you're saying that he could be the greatest footballer of all time, or a lot of people are saying he already is the greatest county footballer of all time, I should say. Like, that's unbelievable.
I'm saying he is, because there's no player that I want to watch more. And who were we saying? Somebody tweeted, how many tickets would you sell just to, you know,
Yeah,
people
I
come
think
along
it was
and watch them take a few
Cormac
shots?
O'Malley tweeted, it was like, you know, how many, if you put Clifford in a big stadium, 40, 50,000, and you charge a tenner in, like how many people would pay in just to see him kicking frees or doing his bounce, kind of his hop and kicking scores from play or whatever it is. I'd say you get 20,000 in there easy. If you look at the amount of people, you put him in the Midlands, he's just do a tour. You know, like the Buddy Sugru type character that brought Muhammad Ali to Croke Park back in the day. Someone needs to bring like the Clifford Circus on tour. You know what I mean? Like Clifford Circus, and you just bring him around the country, and you get him to do his things in various GA pitches around the country. Jeez, he'd make an absolute bomb.
Actually, you mentioned that Buddy Sugru guy. So he was a bit of an entrepreneur in Ireland. I can't remember all the different things, but he had
Strong man too. A very,
strong man as well.
strong man,
There
very
was a
strong.
great documentary on RTE about this before, about how he got Muhammad Ali to come and fight at Croke Park. But one of the things, he was involved in a pub as well, or they had a family pub or whatever. So people used to come to the pub, and what he used to do was they used to give out for free bacon to everyone that would show up there. So people would show up on a Friday, and you know, you'd be mad for a few pints, but then of course you get a bit of a hunger on you as well. So what they used to do was load up the bacon with a load of salt, because that would dehydrate you and make you thirstier still.
Genius.
So people would have more scoops. So
absolute genius. I don't know if you've ever seen that clip of some American show. It's like can't think of the man's name now. He's only a young fella, but 5 or 6. He's like, bacon is good for me. Your one comes in and clears out the fridge of all the treats that he eats, and he's like, he will not have his bacon be taken away from him. He's about 5 years old, I'd say. But yeah, Buddy Sugar's a really, really interesting fella. I think he used to drink he used to drink some type of animal blood. He used to help with his strength or something like that. Like, mad. I remember, very fascinating character. Definitely worth a Google.
Did he? Oh wait, Charlie Sheen, didn't he have tiger blood? Wasn't that the whole video?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's just Clifford Circus. I'm telling you, Clifford Circus. Bring him around the country.